XTR is Shimano's flagship racing group set, and where it differs from the classic XT workhorse is the fact that this is the no expense spared, all bells, all whistles transmission. Let's take a look at the brand new M9100 XTR. So one of the particularly cool things about the Shimano XTR group set as a whole is it's a no compromise group set. So you can actually spec it the way you want it. So it will suit cross-country races, it will suit enduro races, and it will also suit XC marathon type riders. And they all look for slightly differing things, but they all want that no-nonsense, super lightweight, high-performance transmission. So first up is a cassette, and there's three options within that. So option one is of course the flagship 1x setup. So this is a huge 10 to 51 12-speed transmission. Of course SRAM already had the 1050, this has the 51, and you might think, why have they got the extra one? Is it just to have the extra tooth? Well actually no, this is Shimano you're talking about here, and Shimano are all about efficiency. So it's because there's 6 tooth difference between each of the top 3 there. So that's a 39, a 45 and the 51, so 6 teeth between each of those, and it's for even cadence as you're going up through the gears, which of course does make things a bit smoother. There is the 10, there's a 12, a 14, 16, 18, 21, 24, 28, 33, 39, 45 and 51. It's a very, very even spread throughout that, and in fact you can actually see that just by looking at the profile of the cassette. Now, there's quite a few special things about this, the way it's constructed. It's actually using 3 different metals here. At the bottom end here, on the smaller sprockets, are in fact made of steel, and these slide directly onto the splines of the new Microshift hub, which we're going to take a look at next. The middle sprockets are made from titanium, and they're bonded directly onto a carbon spider. And this spider itself is a very, very cool and intricate design, as you can see on the back there. Now the top sprockets, the biggest ones, these are made from aluminium. Now the reason for that is that they have to be very stiff but also very light. Now of course you do know that aluminium wears faster than titanium or steel does, but of course you're not actually going to be wearing these half as much as you are the others because there's going to be more chain wrapped around them. Of course that's less friction on there. Now of course being Shimano, it's got the Hyperglide system which they've had for years and years on there, but now it's got the Hyperglide Plus. So not only does it have incredibly smooth and accurate shifting into the lower gears, but it's actually even better now coming back down again, which is more and more important with the bigger spread of gears. The derailleur has to do a lot more, and it's now a very, very punchy and accurate bang, 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 all the way back down that cassette. Very different and a very new feature for Shimano. And the weight, well, not really a lot actually, it's 367 grams. As you can see, the design of it is absolutely magnificent, and it's using that new Microspline system, which we'll check out shortly. Now, option 2 is a very similar looking cassette. This is a 1045. Now, it's got the same construction, the steel, the titanium, the aluminium there. It uses the Hyperglide Plus. Basically, it's the same style cassette, but it's just a closer and slightly smaller and lighter setup. This weighs about 357 grams. Not that much lighter, but nonetheless, when you're counting those grams, it's all important. Now, of course, this is also aimed at 1x, but it's also compatible with the 2x system. So that's a 2x12 system, 24 gears, and the intention for that is aiming directly at the marathon races. Of course, those marathon races doing huge stage races like the Cape Epic need all the help they can get when they're absolutely cranking in those miles, and that is what they're going to be running. Now, I'm a complete convert on a 1x system, and if I was going to run this transmission, I'll definitely be going for the 51. But I love the fact that Shimano are actually offering a 1x and a 2x setup. Despite a lot of you might wonder why they're still doing it, I think it's great because there are people out there that want this and will benefit from it. And again, it just emphasises that no compromise point. It means you can get the XTR transmission that suits you and is going to perform as you need it to. Okay, so there's also an option 3, as you might have spotted on the desk here, and in case there wasn't already enough options, they're also offering an 11-speed one. But it's not just an 11-speed with 11-speed spacing, it still has 12-speed spacing. It uses the same chain, it uses the same derailleur. The thing that's different about the 11 speed is it's basically the 1051, just with the 51 removed. I mean, it's specially manufactured, they haven't just literally lopped it off. And the idea is it's an even smaller, lighter transmission for those people wanting to save the weight. Now the hub design is very slightly different. It does cater for this. So the actual body of the Microspline is slightly shorter. The flange is slightly stepped out to the outside of the hub. So you also get a slightly better bracing angle on there. So kind of cool that you can do that. And on the shifter itself, you can actually alter it from 11 to 12 speed, or vice versa, to suit that. So again, it's another option. You're not forced into doing the 12 speed. It's just another part of the XTR sort of ecosystem. Oh yeah, and the weight, of course, 310 grams. And last but not least, of course, is the dedicated 12-speed chain. Now, it's got all the bells and whistles that Shimano chains are renowned for. It now joins with their dedicated quick link system, so there's no more having to do the dedicated pin and snap off the end on those. Now, the inner parts of the chain themselves are extended, so the reason for that is they contact with the narrow part of the narrow wide chainring teeth, just for a better retention on there. And the other benefit of that is it actually decreases one of the other problems, which is the vibration that you can get. So have you ever noticed in shifting on any sort of wide range cassette that sometimes in extremities, like using the lower gear, the biggest, say the 51 on this, you can sometimes on some bike designs, maybe a super short chainstay, have the chain vibrating slightly. Now this, you won't actually get that. So a chain that's vibrating is creating slightly more friction, and the fact that you won't have that with the Shimano chain. To accommodate the brand new 12-speed cassettes on the new drivetrain from XTR, Shimano went back to the drawing board and completely redesigned the hub. So not only does it have this brand new Microspline system, but it also has the silence internal system, which is a brand new ratchet that's completely silent in operation. So the previous Shimano splined system has been around and been used by many different brands for a long time. Now, whilst it does work very well, it is prone to problems. If you want to save weight and have a lightweight body on there, it can get damaged easily. So it had only 13 splines. This new system has 23 splines. Not only does it have the 23 splines, but they're deeper and there's much more purchase on them. So it's going to distribute the torque that you can put into that cassette and through the hub with that huge 51 much better. So on previous hubs on the internals, Shimano have used the tried and tested pull system, which basically a sprung loaded pull basically locates as you drive the system. And now, whilst that is effective, they are prone to some niggles here and there, so they've gone back to the drawing board and come up with the silence system. Now this has a ratchet on the inside with a very strong spring that pushes it apart, so it disengages it when you're freewheeling, and there is nothing to drag. So there's no dragging pulls on there to add any friction, and of course there's not even any dragging ratchets which you get on some of those ratchet style hubs. There is nothing there at all. And the pickup itself is actually just 7.6 degrees of rotation between them. It's so instant, it's quite incredible. But it's very odd actually just having that silence to it. And I know it's something that Neil actually really liked when he did the first ride on the video. The link to that, by the way, is following this video. As for the lack of sound, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. Part of me does miss the traditional clicky click of a freewheel hub that you get. And it's something that I've always grown to like. But since the clutch mech designs came in and bikes have got increasingly quiet, I could definitely see myself preferring a completely silent bike. All you're going to be able to hear is your tyres like scratching for grip, suspension going through its cycle. I actually think Shimano have got this bang on. Currently it's only Shimano and DT offering the Microspline system, but we may well see some other brands follow suit. So as far as options go, up front is 15mm and you can have 100mm or you can have Boost 110. You can also have it in conventional J-bend spokes or straight pull. Out back, of course, the same thing applies. You can have that in regular 142 or Boost 148, again in conventional J-bend spokes or straight pull. And lastly, just for the 11-speed option, the flange on the drive side is actually 4.7mm further outboard on the bike, just to compensate for that extra sprocket that would have been there in the 12-speed. And of course, it's just going to give you a slightly better bracing angle on there, but that's dedicated for the 11-speed option. So the chain set. So XTR cranks have always been lovely looking bits of kit, and these latest ones are no exception. So taking a typical XTR high-end premium feel to them. They're Holotech as always, but there's a few slightly different things. So as you can see here, there's two main models. There's the 1x and there's a 2x, both of which have direct mount chainrings on them. There's no sort of spider as such, although on the 2x, the inner chainring does bolt to that outer chainring. On the 2x system, it's a 28 and a 38 tooth on there as stock. And on the 1x, it's anything from 30 up to 38. Changing them is a no fuss affair just by simply removing that on the back, sliding it straight off the Holotech axle there. So really nice system. Now something else that's a little bit different on the new XTR cranks is there's no longer the twin pinch bolt design and preload cap as it used to have. So it's actually got a captive 8mm bolt in there, so you can actually extract the crank using that, and it's got a preload ring for adjusting it once on. Very neat and tidy. So there are 62mm and 68mm Q factors available. The 62 is only compatible on non-boost frames, and it's designed there to feel a bit more like how the road Q factor would be. So anyone transitioning across from road cycling into the world of XC racing will find that the Q factor is the same as their road bike. And the 1x has a 52mm chainline that's compatible with both 142 and Boost 148 out back. And the 2x crank comes in both 49 and 52mm chainlines to suit both 142 and 148 Boost. As with most Shimano products, all the usual lengths and cranks are 175s, 170s, and all the bottom bracket variations are available. As always, the rear derailleur is a bit of a work of art and has had a lot of new technical developments in it. There's also a front derailleur for those choosing the 2x setup, and a really cool little Enduro chain guide for those favouring the 1x setup. Now the actual cage itself, I don't know if you can see how beautiful this is, carbon construction on there, and it's got brand new 13 teeth pulley wheels on there. So basically that reduces the friction. Of course, the chain having to wrap around a smaller wheel increases that friction. It also increases the chain retention capabilities. And as with all Shimano Shadow Plus mechs these days, it's got the clutch system with the on and off switch there, which of course means it's on and locked on, and when it's off, it means it's easier to manually manipulate the cage for removing your rear wheel from your bike. And of course, the last thing to mention, of course, is the Shadow Plus design on there. So it's a very low profile design. Certainly as low profile as you can get with a big high-tech modern derailleur. And of course, it has to be low profile for threading your way through rock garden stuff. You don't want to be smashing off something like that. Now the front derailleur, if you're picking the 2x system, is a direct mount offering. It's available in D-type, E-type and M-type, and it's also a side swing operation. And also, if you're going for 1x, you've got this really neat little upper chain guide. Of course, they're not essential. Chains do stay on mostly these days, but if you're an enduro racer or you do fancy that extra little bit of protection, this is what you want. They're available in E-mount, D-mount, and of course ISCG as well. Okay, so shifters and brakes, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff here. So first up, let's just take a look at the rear shifter. So this is the new iSpec EV system, and there's far more adjustability than ever. So you're going to be able to get this in the exact position you want. So there's 14mm of side to side movement there. So you can really sort of tailor the position of that shifter in relation to the brake lever. And there's a whopping 60 degrees of movement here. So again, depending on how you like your brake lever position, high, low, you want to shift it in relation to that. There's all the adjustability that you need. Now, as far as the actual shifter goes, you might notice it's got a rubber on the actual paddle there. Now, this is really cool because you see a lot of pro riders making modifications to their shifters, especially the racers, to get extra traction in both bumpy conditions and wet and muddy conditions. Don't have to do that with the XTR stuff, but of course it is the XT racing transmission, so it's designed to cope with the rigours of racing. There is also a dropper post remote using the same iSpec EV mount, which has all of that movement side to side, the 14mm and that 60 degrees up and down. It's designed to work with virtually every cable operated dropper post on the market, and of course it really neatens up the cockpit there, especially if you're running a 1x, so you can maximise on the real estate on your bars there by using that position. If you're one of the riders that's going to be speccing a 2x setup on the front, then you have the luxury of having this mono lever design for your left hand shifter. So a single lever for upshift and downshift. Really cool system. Last but not least, the extra cool thing that you'll find on the bottom of the shifters is the capability to turn it into an 11-speed shifter. Of course, that is with the 12-speed spacing. It's designed for use with that 11-speed Shimano XTR cassette, but very cool. It's the same shifter, literally turn the dial there and it becomes 11-speed or 12-speed. There are two brake lever designs in the XTR range. There's one for enduro focused riding and racing and one for cross country. The cross country one has a carbon fiber blade on there and it's a magnesium body. It's a very lightweight design and just has a simple reach adjustment tucked in behind the lever there. The enduro design is a bit more rugged. It's fully made from aluminium, both the body and the lever blade itself, and it has a tool-free reach design on there as well as the free stroke adjustment. Now both levers have the new mounting system that's very inboard, but it has 2 points of contact on the handlebars there. And the reason for this is both to put the brake lever in the optimum position, but also to increase the rigidity on the bars. Now in previous XTR brakes and sometimes on the XT brakes, there was talk that the amount of power that they could deliver wasn't matched by the stability on the bars, and it's been addressed now. So this thing is absolutely rock solid on the bars. It's fully supported in 2 positions, and of course you can mount it wherever you want. And as far as the actual brake calipers go for cross-country racers there and the marathon racers, there's a regular 2-piston design. It's really, really neat. Probably one of the best looking brake calipers I've seen, and it's in that classic XTR grey finish. Really high-end, luxurious item there. Now for the enduro racers and those wanting a bit more power, there's the 4-pot design. So there's 4 pistons in this, and this also maximizes on that by having the finned brake pads there, which are available in both resin and sintered. Now the 4-piston design is said to have very similar power to the Saint, so maximum braking power, but of course this is the lightweight and minimal racing brake, whereas the Saint of course is going to be a lot more durable for day-to-day stuff. I emphasize the fact that this is the XT racing transmission, so it's all about having the maximum performance in a race package. And then finally with the brakes, there are the new rotors. So these are the new Icetech Freezer rotors. They're actually a 3-piece design, so it's stainless steel sandwiching and aluminium inside there. And the aluminium is actually what's designed to take the heat away from the braking surfaces. Very, very effective. It works so well that on the 180 and the 203mm rotors, Shimano actually found it was 20% cooler in testing. And of course, if your brakes are cooler, you can have a lot more consistency of power, which in racing is absolutely everything. And finally, the last part of the XTR group set is the pedals. And this is something that Shimano have always done excellently. So there's 2 options, as with most things in the XTR range. There's the SL, which is your cross-country race pedal, and then there's the Trail, which is for trail and enduro. And they both have the same mechanisms, but they have a few different things on them. So of course, the SL is tiny. There's not much to it. It's the bare minimum as far as SPD pedals go. And it's got a slightly wider axle base on the pedal unit itself there, which actually gives your shoe more support, and it's slightly raised in profile there too. Now there's 2 axle lengths available. There's 52mm and 55. The 52 is ideal for those that train on road bikes, or perhaps someone coming from road into mountain bike cross country racing, because the Q factor will be the same. So if you're used to extended periods in the saddle and you're swapping between bikes, that is the pedal for you in that option. The 55, most mountain bikers will be familiar with that. The slightly wider stance, a little bit more stable out there, but having that option is a really, really good thing. Now with the Trail pedal, you don't actually have that option. It sticks with the wider stance to start with. The actual platform of the pedal offers a little bit more support than previous models. And there's also a slightly wider contact patch on there, again, just for a bit more stability with your shoe when it contacts with the pedal. I really do like the design of the Trail pedals. It's got the minimal design mechanism on there, but it's got everything you need to support the shoe. And of course, those wings do protect the pedal itself as well in the inevitable rock strikes. Now, one extra thing, just so they make sure they suit more riders from now on, is the cleats come with a 1mm spacer, so you can lift the cleat off the shoe. So the reason for that is there's a lot more shoes out there with deeper tread profiles on there, so you want to be able to get in and out of the pedal appropriately, but also you can tune the way the pedal feels for the way you want to ride. As with all Shimano SPD pedals, you can adjust the retention on the jaws themselves here with an Allen key on both sides, and there's indents in there so you know you're familiar with how many clicks you're putting on or taking off. So there we go, that is the brand new XTR M9100 group set. Of course, there's various options within here, the 12 speed, the 11 speed, the 1x, the 2x. What options would you run if you could run any of this? What's your favourite bit as well? And what do you think, more importantly? I really want to know what you think of the hub. I think that's really cool. If you want to see how this stuff actually works out on the trail, check out Neil's first ride just down there. As always, click on the round globe to subscribe to GMBN Tech. We've got more content like this for you every single week. And if you like the new XTR transmission and group set, give us a thumbs up